Well, unless I forgot something else, I think we're ready to move over to revival of my favorite segment, aesthetics,
Dun, dun,
as
dun.
the Nike City Connect juggernaut rolls on, as all 30 teams eventually will have a special version of their uniform that we've done a review of almost every single one since they've been coming out. I think we skipped Arizona because who gives a fuck about Arizona? But uh,
Those are bad.
yeah, this week we have the Milwaukee Brewers released the Brew Crew jerseys, which is perfectly titled. I mean, that has been one of their main nicknames since their inception. I like the release. They're a powder blue themed, which kind of references the 70s and 80s uniforms of the Brewers, the Harvey Wallbangers back when they were really fucking good for a while. Even went to a World Series in the early 80s. The It's a essentially a powder blue jersey, powder blue hat with a kind of a bizarre logo on the hat. I wanted to get your thoughts about it. I am a logo designer by trade. That is why this is one of my favorite segments. So I kind of parse these things to a ridiculous level. But honestly, I struggled to understand the meaning of their hat logo, and I wonder if you had similar issues. It's an MKE, which I knew that those are the symbol for their airport, and it's often a nickname for Milwaukee, just the MKE, which I think is kind of cool. But there's more going on in that logo, and I could tell they were trying to do other things, but I couldn't tell what it was. And I thought I saw a four maybe, or what? Did you know the logo I'm talking about? Did you look at it closely?
Yeah. I've seen the jerseys. The funny thing is, I decided to read about the
Okay,
jerseys because I and now
this
I
is how
can't
I learned.
remember. But I can't remember what the reason was for the way. Because when I was looking at the jersey, I'm like, is that like are those like pipes connecting it? I knew, like you, I knew the MKE was the airport, which is awesome because I think like if you have one prominent airport, that is kind of like a cool thing to do. Like
And
in Chicago, what would
well,
would the White Sox get MDW and the Cubs would get ORD or something like that? Like
I think both of those are
it,
mediocre, but
yeah,
MKE I think is cool and a really good idea for the Brewers to emphasize. The other part that's going on far more subtly is there's a 414 built into it, kind of almost in the background. It's in the not the negative space, but 414 is the area code there. So it's literally
yeah,
MKE 414. So this comes back to our same conversation we have every time with the Nike City Connect jerseys. These are for locals that are going to get that right away. They know what they're. I didn't know
right.
414 was the area code. Well, obviously people there will know that. So whether visually it quite works, I think is still questionable. But once you read it, uh, once you read the explanation, it totally makes sense. So that was the one thing I was going to point out. And you brought up the typeface. Is that pipes or what is that? The Brew Crew is actually written out in a similar angular font, um, which I never got a full explanation for. I think it's literally they started with that. Maybe the genesis of the whole idea came out with that MKE, and they tried to figure out how the angles of the K could turn into a four and how that would work. And I think they kept it angular throughout to keep that theme. That's what I would do as as a graphic designer, I guess. That is far too deep into the weeds from a graphic design perspective, or anyone else to give a shit about. But I think that might explain it. I can't figure out any other explanation for that typeface. The coolest thing, my favorite thing, is the sleeve patch that is a barbecue grill that is also a baseball. I
Yeah.
thought that was cool as hell. That could be like that could have been their hat logo if you ask me. I mean that Milwaukee is definitely known for their tailgating, cooking brats. I have cooked brats in the parking lot outside Ben Miller Park. It is a fantastic venue for that. Of course, Wisconsin is known for their encased meats. So a barbecue grill makes a lot of sense. It's a
It
well
does.
executed logo. I love that. The This is where the designers get a little too into themselves. The explanations get kind of ridiculous. There are two stripes on the sleeves, if you noticed. There's a yellow stripe with a white stripe on top of that, which is supposed to symbolize beer with the head on top of it. It's like a yellow color, golden.
Yes,
With,
yeah, that
I mean,
that I thought was a little bit of
it's a bit of a stretch.
yeah, it's a bit of a stretch for interpretation because you definitely have to read to understand that that's
Yeah.
what you're going for.
Yeah. But
yeah, I remember reading that and going, okay.
That's a designer. I've done it too with other brand releases where it's just fun. You get so deep into your own thoughts that it gets a little bit ridiculous to say that kind of shit to the public, but that's fine. I think overall though, I think they look great. I think they look on
Yeah,
brand.
I like them too.
They look like a Brewers jersey. It's not like what we ran into like watching Tigers games in Fenway this week. The Red Sox were wearing their City Connect jerseys for all 3 games, the bright yellow and light blue, which just do not look like Red Sox jerseys to me at all. Where, the White Sox being your example, which you wore all week so far this week, even in the heat, wearing your all black uniforms, the South Side, which are tremendous. Those look like White Sox uniforms. You see that uniform that looks like the White Sox. Similarly, this Brew Crew uniform immediately speaks. It says Milwaukee Brewers. It just feels that way to me. So I think they did an excellent job in that. I think they got a little too deep into the weeds, into the explanation and part of the design. But for our rating system that we just created, since our logo is a raised middle finger, which is a positive thing in this context, I'm going to give these Brew Crew jerseys 2 middle fingers up.
Me too.
All right. So we've got a total of 4 middle fingers up for these. So that's pretty good. I like that. So that is unless you had any other comments about the uniforms or anything.
No, I like them. I just wonder if this is a case too of us like knowing a little bit more about the Brewers because of proximity. And
it's true. 90 minutes north.
And we've both been to the park when it was Miller Park. Also, Brewers used to play against the White Sox a ton just because of them being in the AL at the time. So, like, I feel like it makes it's a little easier again.
We're more
the
familiar.
Greatest point. Yeah, the greatest point of all is the one you bring up that we often don't touch upon or don't I don't always like when I see a jersey, I'm like, that just looks awful because I'm just looking at it like from, is it pleasing to the eye?
Sure.
But in a lot of cases, it makes tons of sense to the people in that city, and that's what it's really for.
Yeah, exactly. Not
but
for
kudos,
out of state,
not for us,
out of touch old dudes like us that just happen to have a podcast to chime off about. So,
but good job with the Brew Crew jerseys.
Agreed.
Word Hole Media.